All right, and welcome. If you've already seen the first video of this series, I'm doing a series on how to buy a used car. The first video is dealing more with research. So in the first video, we went over a little bit of this book called The Road to a Sale. It's not really a book that I recommend you go out and buy if you're looking to buy a used car. This is more a book for car salesmen and the training for car salesmen and salespeople to understand how to deal with their customer, understand how to go through the process in an efficient way. But the main thing I covered last time was step 2, which is the fact finding, or also in the dealership called a customer needs assessment, and basically walked you all through how to go through that process yourself, to ask yourself these questions and to figure out your own criteria for what you're looking for. So basically, before getting into this video, I'm going to recap a little bit of that. The first part of that process was that you figure out what kind of vehicle you're looking for. What do you need it to do? Is it going to haul people? Is it going to haul equipment? Or are you looking to buy something fun and enjoyable? And then the next step is going to be getting online and doing all of your research. That's watching car review videos on YouTube, watching comparisons. Once you really start to figure out which models you like, then starting to figure out the different trim variants on those models, which ones come with which features that you want, which features you have to have or don't have to have. And then the next stage is going through and learning about the car and the kind of maintenance issues it has, what kind of maintenance it needs and at what intervals. So at how many miles do you need to do spark plugs? When do you need to do the timing belt? Are there other issues specific with that car? And a lot of that's also going to give you information for when you go to look at a car. You can start asking to know if certain jobs have already been done, so you know if you don't have to worry about it, or if it possibly gives you some leverage that the maintenance hasn't been done and that's coming up for you to do. And then the next process is searching online. Going through sites like Car Gurus and Auto Tempest and various other sites that aggregate different car dealerships in the area, so you can just kind of get a, really good filtering tools. You can kind of set your criteria for how much you're looking for, what you're looking to spend, how far you're willing to travel. You can filter by features you're looking for, whether you want an automatic or a manual. And then once you have an idea of what car you're looking for, how much those cars go for, then you want to kind of figure out your budget and sit down with a loan calculator and try to calculate out what the deal is going to look like. So if you have any questions about any of that, I would say go back and watch that first video, and I'll link that down in the description. And if you have any questions related to those topics, I would ask you comment them on that video, and that will just help. So if anybody else comes along and watches it, if we keep the comments for the first episode on the first episode video, and then comments and questions for this episode on this video, when other people go to watch it and maybe have the same question that you're asking, it'll be more clear for them to be able to search through the comments and try to see, try to stay on topic, basically. And then the last part of, the prereqs for this video is, if you have a chance before you want to go test drive a car, if you're looking at something super basic like a Toyota or a Honda or a Nissan that everybody has, and maybe you have a friend that has one, if you can ask that friend to let you drive it, or if you can go to rent a car place like Enterprise or Budget or something like that and rent one, drive it, or Toro, maybe a Toro, if someone has one in your area. That's a great way to decide if you like the car before you're having to deal with a salesman. Honestly, I don't really feel like a dealership is a good place to be deciding whether or not you like a certain car. By the time you're at that point, what we're going to get into tonight, I really feel like people should, ideally, you should be more at the, I like this car, I want this car, now is this one in good shape? Do I want to buy this one? And if you can get past trying to go to a dealership to decide if you like a car, you're going to save yourself a lot of hours of dealing with salespeople who are only incentivized to sell you a car. So getting into tonight's topic, we're going to go back to the road to a sale. And there you go. We're going to go back to this book because now in step 3 of the road to a sale, the step is called the selection. And I'm just going to read a quote that jumped out at me from this section. Most of it really doesn't have to do with your perspective as a buyer, but the quote is, "People get excited about what they see, feel, and touch. Showing the customer a vehicle opposed to a brochure helps them take mental ownership." And why that jumped out at me is because the whole purpose of the step 3, the section, and why I don't really think it's that useful for you to buy this book, is that whole section just goes into, for the salesman, why it is cheaper and less hassle for them to sell you something they have on the lot. And this is mainly when we're dealing with pre-owned. If we were dealing with new, it's pretty easy for them to try to see what's coming over and find everything you want, all the options, the paint color, everything. It's coming over on a ship. They reserve it for you once you go through the process and fill out all the paperwork, and then it ships to that dealership. Now, if you're dealing with used cars, it's quite a hassle for them to try to get it even within their own network. So I worked for one company, we'll just call it X dealership, and if X dealership has 5, 6, 7 locations, it's actually a massive hassle for them to transfer that car from one dealership or from one lot to another lot within the same network. The way they balance their books, even within the same company, one lot sells it to the other lot, and you basically have to go through the entire deal, sign it, decide you want it before you even see it, and you really don't know what the condition is. So it really, that section of the book was really emphasizing how much the salesman should just try to work with what they have in inventory and not order you a car from another lot that's used. You might not like it. And then the other factor was, if you haven't taken delivery of that car and you drive down the street after you fill out all the paperwork, then you find the car you really want at another dealer and you go and buy that, his whole deal has fallen apart. But reading that was just re-emphasizing how it's really, you really want to see what a dealership has before you go there. Because once you get there, if they don't have what you want, and the example, so going back to step 2, everything the salesperson learned in step 2, fact finding, is used to select a car from the dealer's inventory, because the dealer searching and finding you the perfect car will always cost them more money than selling something they already have. And the example I came up with was that if you want a car that's red, all-wheel drive, V6, and has a sunroof, and all the dealer has is a car that's white, all-wheel drive, V6, and doesn't have a sunroof, that's what he's going to try and get you in. Now, those might be nice to have features, that might be something you can live without, but that's really a decision you want to make for yourself, without a salesman sitting there incentivized to get you in the white car that only has, 2 out of the 3 things you want it to have. And it was a joke we always talked about when I was selling cars. My managers used to say, "Oh yeah, oh, you want it in red? Okay, let me call the used car factory." And I worked for Toyota, so if they wanted a Corolla or they wanted a Tacoma or some other Toyota, being able to work with what color they want was more reasonable. Now, if it was an off-brand car, if it was a Chevy that we just happen to have, that's the only Chevy maybe we have. So I remember we had a Corvette. We had one Corvette the entire time I worked there. So if you showed up and you said, "Oh, I don't really like the color," well, it's kind of like, what are you doing here then? But getting into step 4 in Road to the Sale, that is the test drives. They called that process the walkaround. So if you made an appointment to see a specific vehicle, that gives the salesperson time to make sure that vehicle is ready to show. They might clean it up, run the AC so it's cool, clean up a known oil spill or issue so it's less noticeable, spray some air freshener. Also, where it's parked on the lot tells you everything. So if you're dealing with a smaller lot and they don't have a lot of lot space, if it's right up front, they're confident it'll sell. They want to put that forward so you see that from the road. If it's buried in the back and they have to move 5 other cars to get to it, that's a good sign that it's not in very good shape and they weren't really expecting it to sell anytime soon. So that's the perfect example of why I like to come unannounced. Because if you make an appointment and you say, I can remember one time I went to go look at a Nissan Frontier and it was exactly that issue. I just found it online. I showed up, didn't tell anybody I was coming. They had to move like 2 or 3 cars to get it out from the back of their lot. And I drove it down the road. It was in really bad shape. It smelled like cigarettes. They didn't do a good job cleaning it, and brought it back and told them I wasn't interested. But had I given them a warning that I was coming, they could have pulled it out, cleaned it up, sprayed some air freshener, tried to address anything really quickly that they notice. And you wouldn't really get to see the true condition of that car. So it's in this stage, the salespeople can use all of the ammo you gave them in the fact finding to pitch the car to you before giving you the keys and letting you drive it. The road to the sale had a really good process that I didn't really used to do, and I've never really seen anybody do, where you go to look at a car, you tell them what you're interested in, and then they go through this whole spiel about the car before they even give you the keys. I've never seen anybody do that, but I guess a well-trained dealership would do that, and that kind of gets into the time wasting. But at smaller family lots, they're pretty much just going to toss you the keys and then want to talk to you when you come back. And another interesting thing, and I always remember them training me this one, it said, and this is a direct quote from the book, when you return to the dealership, tell the customer to park in front of the building. Do not let them park the vehicle in the space it came out of. You will find in almost all instances your customers will. And then the next question, if they went on the test drive with you, by the time you park it, is going to be, other than numbers, is there anything preventing us from doing business today? This is them getting right down to the point. This is them also bringing back up the, give me all of your objections now. And this is something they like to use against you. You've gone through the fact-finding customer needs assessment. You've given them everything that you've wanted, and they're going to treat that like a list to check off. And if they can check off all those things, they're going to sit there and be like, well, what's the problem? What's the objection? Why can't we do it today, right now? But back to the parking thing, because I thought that was interesting. I always do that. I've done that on cars I've bought before. You know, I've put it right back in the spot that I got it from, and my mindset's kind of like, I want the car, right? But also maybe this deal doesn't work out. So if I put it back where I got it from, I'm, you know, kind of being more respectful of the lot, and they don't really have to deal with, you know, moving it around if I leave and I don't buy the car. But there was something, and all the psychology books I read, I really don't get this mindset. It's one of those little things that they obsess about, where it's you taking ownership of the car, you starting to feel like the car is yours. And so they want you to drive it like it's yours. Like if you were driving this car and it's yours, when you showed up at the dealership, you pulled right up front in the first empty space, probably right by the door. That's where they want you to put the car you're test driving, because if you treat it like it's yours, it's going to start to feel like it's yours. And I get that logic, but I also just think it's kind of stupid. Like I said, I have put many cars that I bought back in the same spot I put it out of, because, you know, in the next step that we'll get to in the next episode, when we get to the negotiations, a lot can fall apart. So again, I feel better about putting it where I got it from, and if they bring me back some numbers that just look stupid and I don't want to deal with them anymore, they don't have to clean up after me. I just think it's respectful. I've done that with many cars that I purchased. I don't think that's a great indication, but again, it's just these games that they play. And that's kind of why I want to do this series, because, and it's not really that important whether you put it back where you got it from or whether you just humor them and pull into the front spot. It really doesn't matter. If they give you bad numbers, you know, just walk away and make them repark it. It's not your problem. Just keep in mind all of the little things they're doing to try to train you through this process, so you're more agreeable, so you feel like the car is yours, so you're more excitable. And that's the other thing. They are, just like I said in the earlier quote, people get excited about what they can see, feel, and touch. The test drive for the salesman is all about hyping you up. If you tell the salesman, I really like this feature, he's going to talk about that feature. He's going to hype up that feature a little bit. It's all about keeping you excited, keeping you up here. If you can stay level-headed and rational, it's going to go a lot better for you. So getting into the test drive itself, you've already done all of the prerequisites. You know what you're looking for. You know about what you're wanting to spend. Now you've picked out a few of the cars you really want to go see. Rank them and start with this ticks all or most of the boxes I'm looking for. This is the best price. This looks like it's in the best condition. Start with that one. By the time you get to this process, if that one, if you like it, if everything's good, if the numbers are there, you're buying that one. Don't feel like you can just go look at 3 to 5 of the same car over the course of a week and then come back and make a decision. Maybe in a day you can go look at 3 to 5 if you have the time, if you're off. But even in a day, if you're looking at something that's really sought after, really hard to get, or a used car that there's just not that many of them around anymore, you need to be more decisive and intentional. So pick the best one, and if that one works out, be ready to buy it. Like I said earlier, I don't recommend scheduling an appointment if it's in town. If it's 30 minutes down the street, just show up, because this does a number of things. One, if you don't see the car there, don't talk to anybody. Don't get out of your car. Just keep going. Cross it off the list and go to the next one. But also, if you see it, and before I get to that, the reversal of that is if it's more than an hour away, if it's going to take significant time for you to go look at this, it might be worth a call. The caveat to that is some dealers will lie and tell you that it's there, and then when you get there, it's not there, because they know if they tell you it's not there, you're not coming. But a good example of a situation where it can be worth a call, me and a buddy went to go look at a car that he's interested in, and it was over an hour away, and we were going to do it on July 2nd, which was on a Thursday. And the holiday was observed on the 3rd. Interestingly enough, it was like 1 o'clock on that Thursday, and they were shutting down for the weekend. So it saved us the, rush hour traffic, almost holiday weekend traffic, to go out and waste our time. So in that case, I was glad he called ahead. He actually gave me a heads up when we were in motion to go do this. Hey, before you get too wound up, we can't go see it today. And we went to go see it later. Whole different story I won't get into, and this would have been a good example for this, but we were committed. We were gonna check it out. You can do the walk around. You can pull up and go check out the car before you ever talk to anybody in a lot of these lots. And if it's in terrible shape, you can just get in your car and leave. You don't have to announce your presence. You don't have to ask if they have another one of these. In this case, this was a small dealership that had, I think, maybe 5 cars for sale. All of them were not in great shape. The lot looked really good. The building looked good. Good presentation. We were committed to test drive this one and check it out, just kind of for comparison. But we kind of knew when we saw it and started opening it up and started looking at more and more things, this was not the one. But if you're in a serious car search, you can just get in your car and leave. I've seen people, and I've done this before, where if it's a bigger dealership lot, you drive in, and if you can see it from the window and it just looks way worse than it did online, don't even get out of the car. Keep driving. I have had salesmen actually try to chase down my car before doing that one. If it's worthwhile, talk to somebody, get the key, pop the hood. First thing you do when you pop the hood, check the oil. And you check the oil because this will tell you a lot about how this dealership is taking care of it or not taking care of it. So if the oil looks kind of golden like honey, it's just been changed, as it should. If the oil looks dark or black, it's going to need to be changed if you decide to buy this car. But you can probably guarantee if they didn't change the oil, they didn't do the brakes, they didn't do anything else that needs to be done. And that's kind of give you an idea of what the condition of this car is. Many dealerships are going to do as little as possible to prepare this car for sale. so that they're not losing money on it. Very few dealers are going to do anything to the car anymore. Typically, oil change and brake jobs are pretty common. There might be a couple other easy fixes, but you kind of need to treat all of these cars like what is wrong with them. It's on you to figure out what is wrong with them. So, you know, with the hood popped, start the car, listen to the engine, listen to how it sounds. Did it make any, you know, is there a heat shield rattling? Is there something that sounds loose or didn't sound good? Does the engine sound smooth, or does it sound like a bunch of rocks bouncing around in there? That's all the stuff you want to kind of consider and listen to before you drive the car. You know, look at the tires, check them not only for tread, but see if the sidewalls are dry rotted. If you can lay down on your side and kind of look underneath the car, do you see body rust? You'll also see some of that if it's rusted. You'll probably see signs of it under the hood as well. You know, walk around the car, look for body damage, anything that would kind of turn you off from buying the car. And once everything on the outside and the engine bay sounds good and everything's good, at that point you can ask for a test drive. The way I recommend doing a test drive is actually turning off the radio first, and then you want to drive it and listen to, you know, does it creak when you go over bumps? Does it creak when you make a turn? That might be suspension related. Does it sound bad when you give it gas? That could be engine related. Does the transmission make noise when you're going through the gears? There's a lot to try to take in when you're doing a test drive, so it's really just best that you do it with the radio off, because you can always just, and I do recommend when you get back to the dealership, now play with the radio. You know, depending on where you go, some of the smaller dealerships will throw you the keys and, you know, be back in 20 minutes, whatever. If you want to, it's bonus points if you want to get a pre-purchase inspection. You should probably have a mechanic that you already have a good relationship with, and you can take it to them to, you know, call ahead and ask what it would be, try to get an appointment with your mechanic, then call and get an appointment with the dealership. That's also another good exception to when it is a good idea to get an appointment for a car. If you plan to take it on a pre-purchase inspection, you need an appointment with your mechanic, and you need to let the dealership know that you plan to do this, just so they know that you might be gone with the car an extended period of time. Some dealerships might really hem and haw about doing this, particularly when I worked at Toyota. Certain managers would whine and complain when customers wanted to do a pre-purchase inspection, and I don't know, I don't usually do pre-purchase inspections, but it is good due diligence on their part. And they would kind of whine like, well, if you're buying a Toyota from Toyota, like, we're the authority. So a self-appeal to authority is what they would kind of do. And it is a good idea to take a car somewhere else other than the place you're buying it from. Yeah, they have techs there, but their techs are not going to tell you this car is a piece of junk. They'd like to keep their job. But yeah. Once you get back, if they ride with you and they have you on like their 5-minute test drive route, you're not really going to get a lot of chance to drive it. And that's why I say do it with the radio off. And when you get back to the dealership, just because you're done driving it, because he's taken you on this guided route, it doesn't mean that your test drive is over. You can go through, pop the trunk, test every feature in that car that you care about, that you want to make sure works. Open the glove box, make sure it doesn't fall apart in your hand. Go through the radio, go through the presets. Does FM work? Do you have a CD? Is it old enough to have a CD drive? Can you put a CD drive in it? Are you trying to sync your music? Can you typically, you know, it might be a waste of time to pair your phone to Bluetooth. Some cars make it way too difficult, but you know, if that's something you care about, it's a good thing to test. If it has an aftermarket radio, that can really be a pain in the butt. The radio in my car that works, that I installed, is a real pain to pair with. It works. Everything's fine. It's a Kenwood. I can't explain it to you. Every time I have to pair a new phone, it's a hassle. It does have Android Auto, which I mostly use. I digress. Yeah, test everything you can possibly think of. And then once you're done testing, it's pretty much decision time. You know, by this point, you should be ready to either make an offer or walk away. If the car didn't work out and you're looking for something used and it's not a Corolla and you're at a Toyota dealership, like let's say you're looking for an FJ Cruiser at a Toyota dealership, good chances are they don't have another one. Maybe they have another Corolla. They probably have another Camry. But if you want a Celica and you went to look at a Celica, that's probably it. So depending on what you went to look at and the dealer you go to, if this doesn't work out, you're probably done with this dealer. That's just typically how I operate. Of course, I'm not saying you have to do this. You can, of course, walk around and, you can go with something completely different. That's fine. The main thing I'm advocating for is that it is your decision to completely abandon your plan and buy something totally different for convenience. Maybe you really do see something you like. All of that's completely fine. I just want this to be your decision and not what a commission salesperson is trying to persuade you into. So, kind of shifting into some of the videos I wanted to share with you, and these will be, fair use videos here. So I'll stop and commentate over them. There was a video that was recommended to me when I first got into car sales called Suckers. It's from the 90s. It really gets into what car sales was like before the internet. A lot has changed. These dealers used to be able to make up whatever price they want to a certain extent because it was difficult to research. You did have to go to dealerships and talk to them and see what your deals were. And they could kind of just make up whatever they want to a certain extent. They could write whatever felt good to them and see what you were willing to take. So some of that is dated, but the culture of sales has very much remained the same. So I do recommend this movie if you've worked any kind of sales job, especially car sales, or you're just a car guy. It was a pretty good low budget comedy, but there was a scene here where they have a difficult customer who did not want to come inside, and we're not going to get into the negotiations tonight. That will be the next step of the process, the next episode. But don't be this guy. Anyway, let's take a look at this.
If you'll come inside, sir, we can work out the numbers.
Well, why don't you go inside and get your boss's best price and then come out here and tell me what it is?
Well, it doesn't work that way, sir. You see, I need you to come inside and fill out the papers, or they will not believe you're serious.
That's very much how it works. Like, you're not going to negotiate from the parking lot. Like, I wouldn't even... It seems amateurish and kind of arrogant to sit here and try to lowball from the parking lot. Like, go inside. There's air conditioning. Right now in Raleigh, it's 90-degree days every day. Just go inside.
Oh, I'm serious. But I'm not coming inside.
I also want to say that every actual rich person that I have sold cars to, nobody acts like this. The only people who act like this are probably middle class, and they're the fake it till you make it type of people. They are the ones that want to be seen wearing nice clothes and seen having nice things, but they might be drowning in debt, and they might be, behind the scenes, their life's really not that serious. The rich people I did sell cars to are pretty humble and pretty laid back most of the time. Especially considering I was at Toyota. Like, if you were at an exotic level dealership, you might see some eccentric, arrogant people, I'm sure. But your average person walking into a Toyota dealership, if you have to flex and you have to talk about your money and you have to brag, you're probably not that well off.
This is the sticker price.
If you cannot come inside, sir, this is the best we can do.
Maybe you don't comprende, snowflake. I will buy this car, but I refuse to come inside.
Funny thing about this movie is that guy was an Israeli in the movie.
I'll be waiting. Right here.
throw you an extra 50 if you make this deal. The guy's a laydown, I know it.
I don't give a shit. I'm not talking to this asshole anymore.
You know why he won't come inside? Because he's afraid, Mo. He's afraid of you. He's afraid of me. He's afraid of every fucking thing here. He's afraid of the fucking porters who watch the cars.
I'm done talking to the...
Yeah, that's kind of true, actually. If you're not gonna come inside, it's a weird... Just like the... where you park the car when you're done with the test drive, this is a stupid thing customers do that they think matters and it really doesn't. You know, having a backbone and just being willing to get up and walk away when the numbers aren't right is literally all of your leverage. So if you can't do that, it's not going to go well for you. And if you can do that, it makes no difference whether you come inside or not. So just go inside.
This piece of shit. This pedorstock has no respect.
You don't want his respect. You want his money. You can't buy shit with respect. How many of these jerks come in here screaming, I'm not buying anything today. I'm just looking. You think they're talking to you? No, they're talking to themselves. They've been fucked so many times, they finally realized they're easy. Go bury this fuck.
No.
So accurate. It really is. It's them trying to convince themselves they're not buying anything. And they told me that over and over and over again. They're like, everyone's here to buy, even if they say they're just looking. And there were plenty of people that came in and said they were just looking and they left with the car. It's a stupid leverage play. People think that the salesman is going to get desperate and start giving the car away just because you're just looking today. But maybe if I come up with some it's never going to happen. You actually have to engage them. You actually have to seem like you're serious. You actually have to know what you're talking about.
Fuck him. I take another. Give it to someone else.
I'll give you an extra 100. You close this deal.
150.
Don't push your luck.
This is the best part. I wish we could have done this to some people. And this was the whole scene that this movie was recommended to me for.
3 porters to the showroom, please. 3 porters to the showroom. That's it, my friend.
What a power play.
Almost done with the figures we have worked up for you.
What the hell is this?
Your payments.
Oh, this looked a little high.
If you cannot afford this car, thank you for stopping by.
No, wait. It's
See? That's the middle class attitude where they're trying to make it seem like they're rich.
not that I can't afford it. It's, well, I mean, can I get a better deal?
What leverage do you have? None.
You have to go somewhere else for a better deal.
Are you kidding? These are harder to find than tits on a catfish, especially in this color.
I know, that's too bad. There was one other place you could have gotten a better deal.
Where?
Inside.
Gotcha. Another fish on the hook.
Yep, that was so worth it. I really enjoyed that movie, and that scene was like the best scene in the movie, honestly. So that was it for that. Again, that movie is called Suckers. I really recommend you go check it out. You'll probably have to order it on Amazon or eBay because I don't know that it's on any of the streaming services. It was not that well known. But if you've ever done any kind of sales, I think you'd really enjoy that movie. Anyway, another thing I wanted to show you video-wise, again, this will be another fair use video. An old Top Gear episode that really this is the essence of a test drive. And whenever I think about test driving or buying some project car, I think back to this episode. So I'll just let Jeremy take it from here. Excuse me.
Of Top Gear gave each of us £1,500.
They did, which was a nice gesture.
Very nice, but then they said we each had to go out and spend our money on a Porsche. That meant going through eBay and auctions and so on and buying a proper Porsche for less than 1,500 quid.
Yes, and then when we'd done it, we all had to meet up in the City of London with our Porsches, and we'd be set a series of challenges to find out which one of us had got the best deal. Here's what happened.
And just for context, I ran it through AI. I think this was roughly 2006. This was early 2000s. So 1,500 quid back then, $2 and adjusted for inflation, that would be about $3,200 US now, roughly speaking. If my math is off, correct me in the comments, but that's what AI came back with.
This is Exchange Square in the heart of Europe's biggest financial district. It's the spiritual home of Hedge 924, the Porsche that was designed for every man.
I didn't spend 1,500 quid on my 924. I didn't even spend a grand. 750 quid from the Porsche. 750 quid, and the lights pop up.
I was feeling pleased until I saw what James had bought.
You've got a 9.4.
Just pausing because I think I hear a storm, so I apologize if the stream cuts out. I could be subject to power outages.
In white. This thing looks all right from like a really big...
That's never a good sign. So this goes back to when you're looking to buy a car on... Typically, you see this more on marketplace. Dealerships aren't usually this stupid. You don't want to see spare parts laying around in the car. It's fine for someone to give you crates of spare parts, but if they're too lazy to take the spare parts out of the car before selling it to you, presenting the car in some kind of nice way, that's not really a good sign.
What do you mean from a distance? It looks all right close up, I think. This has got the 2.5 litre 4-cylinder engine, and it's a proper Porsche developed engine, whereas I think your car has the engine from a VW van.
What's his nibs gonna go?
Well, I'm expecting.
Now you noticed, what was it, the leather on the steering wheel was peeling, there was a spot on the dash, the front bumper didn't look too good. Sorry, I skipped over Hammond's car a little bit, but I think his had a couple of dents and dings and rust spots, but it's about what you would expect.
Seems to have got one of those, to be honest.
In fact, his nibs had been rather more ambitious.
Oh my! He's got a 928.
Absolutely, a 928. No everyman Porsche for me. This one has a 4.7 litre V8.
Four at most.
Then I give you a timeless classic, a proper Porsche.
Jeremy, you got a 928 on our budget.
Beneath this rather faded, ruined exterior beats a heart of pure arthritis.
Come and have a look at this. Come and have a look at this.
It's even full of junk.
No, these are the water bottles, which are a little bit necessary
Got you.
in order to make it kind of
Do you
move.
not think you may have overreached yourself a bit?
So normally on marketplace you'll see that in the forms of jugs of coolant in the back seat or the front seat of the car. It's usually a sign that the car needs a head gasket. So it's interesting that you can see too the stitching on his steering wheel here also looks very, very bad. It's fading, starting to come apart. This is interesting because this is 3 experienced car heads. They're driven a lot of cars, they're mechanically knowledgeable. I don't know how much their own wrenches they turn, but they're more capable than your average buyer, and you're about to see how this goes for them. Is this, and why I wanted to show this, is it sums up a couple of things. Old cars, luxury cars and performance cars lose value very quickly when they get old, and so people think that they're getting a deal when they see something like this that's this cheap, and the reality is it's been neglected. There's a lot of things that the owners didn't keep up with. There's a lot of stuff broken on it, so it's truly a project. You really get nothing for free. The classic example is really Maserati. If you see Maseratis, they bottom out in their value in like 10 years, and they're typically maintenance nightmares. I just watched a video of a guy who bought a Maserati, and he flew to, was it like Arizona, and drove it back to New Hampshire, and it was quite an adventure. I mean, he had to stop and deal with a few things along the way. He was knowledgeable. He had a scan tool with him, And he ended up with one that was okay, but it was because he researched the car and he was comfortable with some of the issues that it had. And it ultimately got him home. He didn't take it home on a flatbed. It was quite surprising. But it's not something I would recommend for the average person.
Well, I've seen one for more than this advertised as spares.
And that's another good point. You're really in the territory here. $3,200 US. You're in the territory of a car that doesn't run.
Let's have a look at what you've got. This looks quite good, actually.
From a distance. Look, it's been in a canal at some point. Hey, now, survey the magnificence.
This one has the van engine.
It has a good, simple
Van engine.
I don't know what that is.
We got 3 Porsches, that's the thing.
And any one of those defects when you're dealing with an older car by itself is not necessarily a deal breaker. It's when they all add up and the whole car just is not great. 1 or 2 of those little defects by themselves on a car that old would not be a deal breaker.
Get 3 Porsches.
Pretty
Van.
ropey. Scrap. Mine looks pretty good.
Let's have a look at what the challenge is. Can we have an envelope, please? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Veteran cars can make it from London to Brighton, but can you?
No.
No, absolutely. So that's but why do it? 5 points are lost for each time you have to open the bonnet en route. Well, that's thousands for you.
Oh, no.
Throw the bonnet away. Rendezvous on the seafront to receive your next challenge, assuming you make it. ... Jeremy. So Brighton, basically, from here in
Brighton.
our
How
Porsches.
far's that?
It's
miles.
70 miles.
I'm very confident.
Well, I'll see you in the seaside then, chaps.
No, you won't. But all right, let's go.
All right, what would you guys pick? I would probably pick the 944 because I've kind of always wanted one of those. A 924 would be great if that was actually any cheaper, but you really, I can't find one that's that much cheaper than a 944. I don't know if that engine would be any more reliable. I'm not much of a VW or a Porsche guy.
There's a wide range of warning lights on already.
Let's see, and that's huge red flag. They're going to start to get into, you know, things you should be looking, not things you should be looking for, but they're going to start to explain things that when you're looking to buy a car, you should really pay attention to, because each one of them could be a massive repair bill.
We are on the way to Brighton in our Porsches.
This was a hugely advanced car when it first came out. Polyurethane bumpers, first car ever to have passive rear wheel steering. I've always... Oh my God, I've got steam.
Is Jeremy breaking down?
Guys, I've got a lot of steam coming out of the bonnet.
Did you say I've got some speed or I've got some steam?
No, it was definitely steam, and it was erupting after just 2 miles. Garage.
Yeah, see, that's a great sign. You really want to try to drive a car at operating temperature for a sustained amount of time when you're test driving it, because a car that's having any kind of coolant system issues or head gaskets or thermostat issues, it will start to overheat generally pretty quickly. It can't regulate at operating temperature, and so it kind of just keeps going in a lot of cases. So some of those 5 mile, not even 5 miles, some of those small loops that salesmen will have you do really don't give you enough time to figure that out. Now, if you're more likely to get that small loop in a place that's going to sell nicer stuff, because that's going to be the better trained salespeople. You're more likely to get thrown the keys at the places that sell the junk. So you should have the ability to drive it a little farther. Sometimes there's no gas in it, and you're going to want to throw $5-10 of your own money of gas in the car you're thinking about buying, just because they will leave it like almost on fumes in some dealerships. I've gone to multiple dealerships where we put fuel in it to test drive it.
Oh, there is a God. You won't need all this.
No. Right.
Is it really coming out?
Yeah,
of the
it's
bottom?
coming out faster than you're putting it in.
It's a bit more. What? It's leaking faster and faster, then. Is there this much water in England?
And still it goes in. Every single fluid is gushing out of it.
Can you go and see if they've got any eggs, Richard?
Jeremy and Richard have gone off.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. They get a Cadbury egg. It's kind of a joke. I don't think they really put it in the car.
Seen this? Oh,
There's another puddle!
Yeah.
It's fine, it's
just a little look, it's a dribble.
With all the water from the tank.
Like, that's unless you're comfortable with knowing where the leak is, that would be a walk away from the car right away moment. That would not be a car I would buy. Even it could just be a cracked overflow reservoir. It could just be a leaky hose. But, you know, you want to deal with that on a car you own. You don't want to get into a car that has that problem, because there's a number of other places it could be leaking from, and you don't want to deal with it.
Thames Valley in my cooling system and a chocolate egg. We were back on the road.
We're off. Well, that was a complete farce.
Yeah, I'm going to skip ahead because I don't know if I'll get copyrighted for the song playing.
It was James's turn to grind the convoy to a halt with a puncture.
Guys, who thought of this was a sensible idea to buy 3 Porsches? We've done 4 miles.
No, you could have had a puncture in engine.
Now, that's another good reason. You can't really stop running over a nail or something like that. That could happen anywhere at any time. But going back to the car parked at the very back of the lot where they have to move 3 cars to get to it, tire pressure is something they could top off before you get there. So if a tire has a slow leak and they go top it off, depending on how slow the leak is, you could get through the entire day and it leaks down the next day. If you get the car where it hasn't been touched in a week or two, you can come into it and see, are the tires holding air pressure? So again, this is another thing that a salesperson, if you're making an appointment, can try to hide from you. You know, if they're not going to get approval to have tires replaced, better dealerships would have the tires replaced or patched. They'll have the techs to do it. They have a whole used car department. So if you're dealing like Honda, Toyota, Nissan, any brand name dealer is typically going to do a better job in their used department. The mom and pop places don't want to spend the money on a patch.
But you didn't.
It can't open the boot, so I don't, because that
Boot broken.
Oh, this was a good one.
Luckily, we were able to hotwire the remains of the remote boot release.
Anything?
See, and this is why you have to try everything, because that might be, you could get through the whole test drive and not think to open the rear hatch, and then you get it home, you own it, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, what's with this wiring? What's with this module that doesn't work? You know, a lot of these cars now, the fuel door, rear hatch release, you know, sometimes even these stupid electric cars, the doors, they're all electrical. So if something goes wrong, these things don't open easily, or you have to find an override. Definitely check the fuel door, though. There's quite a few cars where the fuel door might not open. If it's a used car and someone's not that bright, there might be a bunch of scratch marks around the fuel door where they started prying it open rather than find the manual release or have the module replaced.
There you go, James.
Unfortunately, the spare was flat and bald.
Your spare is always going to be flat in everything. That's not really a problem. Just put air in it if it holds it and replace it if it doesn't. The spare is probably flat in your car right now.
So we had to take the original punctured tyre up the road to get it fixed.
Mine's working perfectly now. It is. I'll race you to Brighton. All right.
The car was emptying itself of yet more fluids.
Oh my God.
Is that petrol?
Yeah.
So it's leaking petrol out of the back
Should we stand some distance from
and the steam coming out of the front.
It's still leaking.
That might explain the rather poor fuel consumption I got coming to London last night.
And the trail of fire following you, I would imagine.
Happily, the brave men of Brixton helped us fix it.
You're a superstar.
And once again, we were underway. Although a little behind schedule. In fact, we'd set off 6 hours.
Now, don't be fooled. For the road trip, there was putty on the fire department that, for something like that, you could putty up somebody's fuel tank just to stop the leak. And, you know, on a road trip, get you to where you need to go. That does not negate having it actually repaired. It's a temporary fix. It's a Band-Aid. That's probably what they did. That does not suffice for needing to replace the entire fuel tank or fuel line.
Hours earlier, and we were still in South London. And things were still going wrong.
What's this?
Notice if I could do it. Notice how much rust he has on that A-pillar. Like, underneath the piece that's coming off, there is so much rust there.
was laughing at James, though. My car went wrong again.
Oh, you're not going to believe it. My coolant warning lights come on.
It's going to break.
The question we'd asked ourselves this morning was whether you could buy a decent Porsche for less than £1,500. The answer was becoming obvious.
It's all hanging up in the wind. Hey, that's 5 points.
I'm sorry,
points
it's
is that?
overheating
15.
again.
Well, that's 5 points then.
It's boiled 15 litres of water. My kettle couldn't boil them in 3 miles.
Well, this is bigger than your kettle.
This time, we're going to go more than 3 miles without having to stop, okay?
What's that?
So this is it, the long run, Brighton. Here we come. We're going by Porsche power.
I will say, if you're good with cars, it's actually quite exciting to buy something old and just drive it around. And when you make it, because it's a car that you're doubting if you'll make it, that's kind of an exciting feeling. It's not really something you want to do for a daily driver.
At last, the open road to Brighton.
Hey, I'll tell you something interesting. As I speak to you now, all is well.
Yes, we were on our way. Nothing could stop us now.
Once again, I see through the traffic ahead what appears to be a small, no, make that a large, fire.
Oh dear, Jeremy's car does appear to be genuinely broken.
I would also typically say any level of smoking is a do not buy.
I can't see anything.
Much smaller levels of smoke can be indicative of a serious problem. That is catastrophic.
I've had steam from the front, water from underneath, and now I've got smoke from the back. We're gonna get to Brighton. Oh, steam from the front.
Finally, 7 hours and 6 breakdowns after we started, we hit the motorway. Where, apart from its structural weaknesses, James's 944 was going well. And surprisingly, mine wasn't holding up too badly either.
For the first time today, I have no warning
Here it is.
light on the dashboard. All is well. Apart from, you know, the rear windscreen wiper and the electric window and the electric door mirrors and the stereo and the clock and the air conditioning and the speedometer and the mileometer and the piston ring that's eating the engine and the big smoke coming out of the back. Everything's fine.
Hammond.
It's the delusion of the guy. Oh, do I have it? I have it. Yeah. Literally. It's this right here. It's that meme. The dog with everything burning says it's fine. Yeah, that's really kind of the delusion that you're going to deal with if you end up spending too much money on a car that's in bad shape. You're going to be mentally and emotionally committed to it. And if you were to roll onto a lot and buy any one of those 3 cars, but particularly Jeremy's, and that's your car and you're stuck with it. Now you're stuck with the mechanics bill that's going to come with it when you take it to the shop and you start trying to figure out these problems. So if it's something you take on as a project, that's one thing if you can afford to, but if you just need the one car for your daily and you needed to rely on it, that's not going to leave you in a good place. And so, hey, I wanted to show that clip because, again, anytime I'm dealing with a test drive, that clip kind of always pops into my mind. That was, I think, one of the best, probably my favorite Top Gear challenge, because of that scene right there, where he's just listing off all of the things that are still wrong with his car. And again, that gets to the point, and it happens to me every time I buy a car, that the one thing I forget to check, or the one thing I don't touch in the test drive, you find a day or two later, like, oh, this doesn't work. They're fortunately, the cars I bought, they're usually minor things that I could sort out. And I'm handy enough to kind of deal with those problems as they pop up. But, you know, so it's a minor thing to me if the radio doesn't work. The radio in a lot of cars can easily be replaced. It's a minor thing to me if a window switch doesn't work. The window switch or the motor or the fuse can be replaced. It's a serious issue if it's not shifting right. I won't get into it. It's a serious issue if it's smoking or there's coolant consumption. Yeah, that's the other thing. Check the fluid levels, check the coolant, the power steering fluid, if there is power steering fluid. Check all of the levels, because the colors of the fluids, the levels of the fluids, all of these things will tell you a lot. And so if you have, if you have low coolant level and you crank the car on and it starts pouring white smoke, it's a good chance you need a head gasket and you shouldn't buy that car. There's really more than I can cover, and it's one of the things you just have to start doing and have to get used to. When I took my license exam for my Class B license, I was going through the CDL material. Interestingly enough, I didn't have to take those tests, but some of the test material was the same. And the expectation of like an 18-wheeler truck driver is that you go through this checklist every single day. Every single time that you're about to take your truck on the road, you're going down a checklist of, I've checked these things and everything is fine as best I can observe them. You're not a mechanic. You don't know that the engine's not going to fail you going down the road. You don't know that you're not going to have some kind of a problem, but you've gone down the list of, I visibly inspected these things and there's no obvious problem. And that's kind of what you're signing off on. You're actually technically required to do that with a regular car. Just none of us do. None of us walk around our car before we start driving unless we think somebody hit us with a shopping cart. None of us really inspect our tires every single day before we get on the road. None of us pop the hood and check the oil every single day unless you're driving an old beater that needs oil every single day. So all of the inspection that you're really you're liable for. You are the one who put that car on the road, even if it's not your car. Even if I have shown up at dealerships before where the car was in such bad shape, I didn't feel safe driving it. I don't know that a wheel's not going to fall off because it's so badly rusted. I didn't know that the engine wasn't going to blow up because a Mercedes van I went to look at, the airbox was so when you opened the hood, it opened the airbox and the filter, the air filter, had already crumbled inside of it. So I didn't want to crank the van because I thought the engine was going to take in chunks of filter that were missing. Someone really needed to go in there with a vacuum cleaner and suck out any pieces of filter that had broken down into the tube. There's a lot of scenarios where you might show up and see a car that you should not put on the road. There are many dealerships out there. I could probably drive for 20 minutes and find one of those dealerships right now in town. So when you're in that low end budget of, I'd say under $5,000, even at $5,000, you're going to see a lot of things that you don't want to get into. But again, the test drive is, you need to think about the two questions you should have in your mind when test driving is, what was wrong with this car that made the last owner want to sell it? It might be one button on the radio. It might be it got a little dirty. You never know. But what was wrong that made them give up and move on to the next car? Keep that in mind, and the next thing you should be asking to yourself, is there any reason I should walk away from this car right now? If you can keep those in mind and not get super, super excited about what it is you're there to buy, and that you just have to own one and it has to be this one right now because you're impatient, and take a friend if you have to. Take a friend who's not excited about this car and maybe a little mechanically inclined, and tell them their job is to talk you out of this car if it's in really bad shape. That's a lot of good things you can do on a test drive. Beyond that, if you have any questions, also please subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I will try to get to them. I read all the comments as best I see them. And if you would like help with particularly the first stage, what was in the first episode, if you would like help trying to figure out what kind of vehicle might be best for you, depending on what your needs are, and trying to figure out a budget and trying to at least walk through the math as best you can without seeing the real numbers and knowing your APR and your trade-in value, shoot me an email and I'll have my email down in the description. And we can, if you'll jump on a call, I can do it for free. If you would like to do it privately, I will charge by the hour for the consulting. But it's something I'd really like to start getting into because I see a lot of people that have no plan, no idea what they want, and they show up at a dealership, and one of these guys just completely railroads you into whatever they have on the lot at whatever the bank will approve for you. And if you just do a little bit of research and you set some guidelines for yourself, I think you can come out with something you are much happier with. As far as I know it, every one of my friends that I still talk to, that I've sold a car to or helped buy a car, they are all still driving those cars. That's not to say they haven't had mechanical issues and had to get things fixed and repaired. There's been maintenance, nothing major. No one has come back to me and said that car was a piece of junk, because I am the first one to tell someone to walk away from something. That particular one is not worth their time. I can also go through, if you have a plan, if you know what you want to spend, but you don't know a lot about cars, I can go through the online listings with you and look at them. And again, that will be more of my role, is here's all the reasons you should walk away from these cars. And if I can't come up with reasons why you should walk away from them, I might tell you that this car is worth taking a look at. And that's as far as I can go with that, because I can't test drive the car for you. I can't negotiate the deal for you. I can't talk to the dealership for you. So really just figuring out what cars are not worth your time and why. And then possibly, if you have expectations that are beyond your price range, having that conversation with you. Because, well, let's face it, there's a lot of cars I want that I'm not going to be able to buy for 10 grand. They're just not out there. Or if they are out there, they're parts cars. And it's the same way for a lot of other people. If you have to have a big SUV, a third row SUV, there's going to be a minimum price to that. If you have to have a 4-wheel drive truck, there's going to be a minimum price to that. And anything below that minimum price is going to be something that will leave you stranded. But anyway, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.